recording. All right. So recently I did a video just last week talking about my going in position for 2024 in terms of where I'm invested. Apple was one of my core positions for 2024, and it's been like that for years, like literally, 7 years, 8 years now. Well, I have some news. So in this video, I want to give a quick update on what I ended up doing. Well, here's what I did. I ended up selling my entire stake in Apple and reinvested money into Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, Meta, and Amazon. Meta and Amazon being my brand new positions. So why did I bail on Apple right after earnings? So this is last week. Apple had its earning, then Microsoft, Meta and Amazon had their earnings. We already had Microsoft and Google earnings. And when you look at, earnings from these different companies, Apple earnings were nothing blockbuster about it. They were so-so, right? It's typical Apple earnings, nothing blowout about it, nothing super bad about it. It's just Apple earnings. I think if you have Apple, you will be fine from a long-term perspective. But for me, in today's world, if you don't have an AI story, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, especially for a company like Apple, because of its size and rich valuation. They literally have nothing from an AI perspective today, as it stands right now. I know WWDC is coming, and they are definitely going to talk about their overall strategy from an AI perspective. I know there are talks about edge AI and how that's going to transform our experience from an iPhone and Mac perspective. When you compare earnings from Apple earnings to earnings of, let's say, Microsoft, Meta, Google, and Amazon, it feels like those companies have some real growth going on. In some cases, it's re-acceleration of growth, especially in the case of Meta and Amazon. Last year I was like, hey, Meta, it's reached its peak. When you look at the numbers, it feels like they are just chugging along. Well, not even chugging along. They're like running really fast and hard. For those reasons, it's hard for me to stay invested, block a big chunk of my money into Apple while I wait. I may come back to Apple. I will come back to Apple, but I need to see something a little bit more concrete which justifies that, okay, I'm seeing something out there and I'm okay to pay that rich valuation. I want you to listen to this video from CNBC, which was aired, I believe, earlier this week.
CapEx guidance. Let's take a look. From the hyperscalers, Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet could suggest another blowout year. Meta is expected to lead CapEx spend out of all of them as it builds out its own servers and hardware. Morgan Stanley updated their cloud CapEx tracker post results last week, now pointing to 26% year-over-year growth in 2024. That's up from 18% prior. Goldman Sachs writing, forward-looking commentary on Gen AI-related capital spending was consistently positive across all major U.S.-based hyperscalers. And all of that CapEx, it is bullish for ANET, AMD, Marvell, Broadcom, and yes, of course, Nvidia, which reports later this month.
See, there's something real when it comes to AI. When companies like Microsoft, Meta, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, when they talk about AI and the investments that they are making, there has to be something here. They are definitely seeing something big here. These companies are the pillars of U.S. economy, right? And they all cannot be wrong. So there has to be something huge going on here. And given the momentum that we are seeing in these stocks, in these companies, it would be foolish not to own these companies in this day and age, at least in the medium term, right? I don't know what's going to happen 2025, 2026, not sure. But right now, as I stand here into early 2024, The momentum is crazy, justified by strong earnings. We'll see how Nvidia does. It's a huge stake for me. All of these companies have real, tangible revenue making stories versus Apple, which we have not seen anything yet. Again, as I said, we will see something in WWDC. But until then, I'm not convinced that I should be blocking my chunk of change with Apple. And that's the reason why I am out. All of this CapEx spending that we are seeing and these, we just talk about these big names like Amazon, Meta, Google, and Microsoft. But there are all these other companies that are making huge investments, huge capital expenditure, CapEx into AI, right? And all of this is going to benefit nobody else but Nvidia, AMD, Marvell, and a few other chip names. I am a believer in Nvidia. You cannot go wrong with AMD as well, but I have decided to own Nvidia for my portfolio. So here's what I did from portfolio changes perspective. I sold my entire stake in Apple and I moved 70% of cash into Nvidia, 20% into Microsoft, and remaining into Meta and Amazon. Meta and Amazon are brand new position, and they are very teeny weeny positions just because they just have spiked recently post earnings. I want to wait for a dip and I'll continue building those positions. But this is where I have moved. I'm not asking you to do that or anybody should do that. It's just what I am doing. If you don't have positions into these companies, it's tough to open brand new positions at these levels. Like I always say, you want a dollar cost average, buy in increments, look at my past videos. I am closely watching Apple and I will, follow WWDC and try and understand what they are offering from a AI story perspective. Because at some point, I do want to trim down my stake in Nvidia because from a risk management perspective, it's huge. And, I'm going to watch the earnings pretty closely on 21st, but having a 45% stake is not at all advisable to anyone, irrespective of what kind of risk you're willing to take. So we'll see. So yeah, that's the quick summary. That's where I am. I'm out of Apple and I'm fully invested in the AI story with the other mega caps. So we'll see how it goes. Peace.